Assalamu alaikum. This is NTV's weekly program, talk show, Talking Point. I'm your host, Syed Neaz Ahmed. In our studios today, we have a gentleman who has worked for a long time with Amnesty International. As a matter of fact, only until March 2016 he was there. He worked for 30 years and 7 months to be precise. He was South Asia, a specialist of Amnesty International, but in the course of his job, he has visited the countries in the South Asia region, but he has a very deep study and looks at the development of many other issues in Europe and the Near East. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you, Abbas, that you could make it today.
Thank you. I was very pleased to be invited.
Thank you very much. It says that you are skilled in assessing social, cultural and political conflicts. You are focused on human rights development and over 30 years of experience in supporting human rights and democratic process in South Asia. South Asia expert at Amnesty International until March 2016. It's been a long 30 years and 7 months for you there.
It's a very long 30 years and 7 months, you're right. And I've been dealing with many different governments.
Right.
Because each of these countries, as you know, 30 years is a long span of time. So we've had a BNP government in Bangladesh, an Awami League government, a BNP, an Awami League
government,
a caretaker government, again an Awami League
government.
Of course, yes. So all of these governments, and that was only in Bangladesh, Maldives, Pakistan, Afghanistan, you know, most of these countries.
Iran.
Of course, in Iran we have had only one government.
Yes.
We've had, you know, semi-governments in the kind of, you know, on the side.
Yes.
But the difficulty is that, I mean, in Iran, some people say that what we have is a government which is led by the supreme leader.
Right.
And an opposition, which is also in government, which is led by the president. So, yeah.
We have a Bangladesh situation there.
We have this situation everywhere in the world, unfortunately, and it is really getting worse.
Coming back nearer home, see, recently, ignoring the Brexit, recently we have had a lot of traffic of refugees trying to come over to Western Europe, particularly from some of the troubled areas in the Middle East, see, Syria particularly. Obviously mixed with this is a lot of human trafficking and a lot of opportunist businessmen in human trafficking. They are using this as an opportunity to make some money. I met somebody in Dhaka when I was there in last March, not very many days ago, and he said that he was offered to be taken to Libya if he paid them 700,000 taka. And after Libya, he has to become a refugee and seek asylum somewhere in Europe. See. So this is, I'm just quoting this. This is a person-to-person interview that I had with this chap, the driver. If this is going on, so that means a lot of refugees are not refugees, but they're just running away for better or greener pastures outside. See.
And you're actually absolutely right. But, you know, under international human rights law, for example, under the Refugee Convention, there is a remedy for that. They say that the governments of the world should have a screening process, which means that, you know, when somebody comes from outside the country into the country, they should screen them to ensure that they are the people that they say they are. They really have a claim to refugee, but they shouldn't just ignore them, or they shouldn't just send them back without really doing that screening.
But what happens if we said that they should not ignore them, they should not send them back. But suppose they are not convinced that Mr. XYZ is not a genuine person. Where does he go then?
Absolutely, it is very difficult. You know, when I worked on Afghanistan during the Soviet Union occupation of Afghanistan, there were a lot of refugee camps. There were refugee camps in Peshawar, and then there were also refugees who had gone to other countries. I traveled, for example, to Tajikistan, and there were refugees there. There were refugees in Iran.
I think Saudi Arabia also accepted some.
Some actually, yes. Of course, they came back with, you know, all sorts of different ideas from Saudi Arabia. Of course, we know that
the price.
Bin Laden, you know, came from Saudi Arabia, and all of that, Osama bin Laden. So, I mean, what we are talking about is really, I mean, the difficulty is that the countries who are actually in the region, they take the brunt of the pressure. But of course, you know, in the case of Pakistan, who were taking Afghan refugees, it was also a source of income for them. So it is a mixture of all of these things. And you were really right when you said that, you know, this refugee situation creates, you know, a business for some really unethical people, and that is true. But we've got to really also think about the plight of those children, those women who don't have anywhere to go because their homes have been bombed, you know, for whatever reason. We don't know who is right and who is wrong when they say that, you know, they haven't deliberately bombed civilians. We don't know that. But whatever has happened, you know, there are women, children, there are people who are really vulnerable and they need protection. I think you know, it is the responsibility, in my opinion, of the government to deal with the crooks and with the kind of international mafia that is making a huge amount of money out of this. But at the same time, it is also their responsibility to deal with the children who really don't have anywhere else to go.
Well, this is a humanitarian issue, and they have to be looked at like that. That's very good, yes, I understand. But some of the countries within EU, they're not that very well endowed. I mean, economically, see. So like Greece, see, they have their own problems, see. But a lot of people, they don't want to go to Greece. Greece might be just a stepping stone, see, and then they want to. Another very interesting thing is, it's not they are not coming as refugees, but they are coming in as on some pretext or other, like people who have settled down in Italy or some other European Union countries, see, and they find it very easy to come over to Britain because life is, I do not know, life is better. It is presumed, see, and it creates a lot of pressure, and also a lot of hate crimes are being committed because there is a lot of pressure on NHS, on housing, on education, and particularly primary health care. See, that is, when you go to a GP, you can't get an appointment, see, because the queue is so long, see. If we don't have the facility, how can we accommodate? I know, that's a very noble thought. The government should do that.
Of course.
But they want to come over to Western Europe, not somewhere else.
Obviously, you know, you are absolutely right, because they want to come to Western Europe, and because of the facilities that are available in Western Europe. One thing is that, you know, the way to deal with this entire issue is to really stop the source of their problems. And those are the wars in Syria, in other places. And Neaz, you know, just look at it. These are the wars between, you know, the wars between Muslims against Muslims. It's not really a war in that sense of, you know, one
it's
kind
not really
of power.
Ideology.
It is not.
It's maybe sub-ideology, but not real ideology.
My analysis is that we are actually now being, the entire kind of humanitarian, human rights, democratic process in the world is taken hostage by an international mafia who are very strong, and it is in their interest for these wars
To go on.
not to end.
Yeah.
So whenever there is an attempt to stop some of these wars, they will do what they can to actually stop those attempts.
Whether it is South Sudan, Darfur, Eritrea, somewhere something comes up. You see.
So, it is. I think that is really the main problem, and this international mafia is also responsible for the problems inside the countries as well. I mean,
are you referring to arm dealers?
There are arm dealers. There are human traffickers. There are people who are trafficking in drugs. I mean, it's just an entirely kind of a dark kind of corner of the world that is somehow dominating the rest of the world, and I feel really sad about that. Really sad.
This is happening in 21st century.
We didn't expect that. I mean, of course, in my age, I didn't really expect that, we would go back rather than going forward.
Going back to Bangladesh, you see, when did you go last?
Interestingly enough, the last time that I was there was 2014, April 2014, and I tried to go again, and each time I applied for a visa. Of course, my friends at the High Commission, they were very, very helpful, but they said that Dhaka was not allowing me to go. So, which meant that, why don't they want me to go?
Well, probably that.
Probably because they thought that I was going to go and find out what was going wrong.
Right, or probably your last report was not very pleasing.
They didn't like that.
I think that it was on July 12 that Amnesty press release says that Bangladesh authorities must immediately establish the fate and whereabouts, I'll come to the background, whereabouts of a surviving hostage from the recent Dhaka restaurant attack. He has been missing since taken by police for questioning. And this gentleman's name is perhaps Hasnat Karim. And this is, I'm quoting from your July 12 Amnesty International report. The background is that on July 1, I think, a particular restaurant was attacked by some people. Some people were taken hostage, and then there was an ambush, and some people died. But whether it was the Islamists, whether it was this, whether it was that, is still not clear. But some people who survived that attack are still missing, and their near ones do not know anything about that. This is an alarming situation, not just for one person, two persons, but we do not know how many persons were there.
It is an alarming situation, yes, definitely. And immediately after the attack, government officials came out and said, no, we don't have terrorists in our country.
They took 13 hours to organize the attacks.
Where did they know that? How did they know that those who had attacked had no links with the international terrorist organizations? And that is really, in my opinion, that is the focus of the problem, because unfortunately, and this is all governments in Bangladesh have done it, but the present government is also doing it, and in fact they do it more. They try to portray all these troubles as being created by
a particular party,
by the opposition. And when you ask them, well, who do you mean by this opposition? Where is the opposition? Do you mean like Jatiya party? They say, oh no, the opposition. So, because they want to sell that idea to the international community,
Right.
that it is the opposition who is doing it, they have to, they don't allow the police. I mean, the police doesn't have the capacity and they really know how to carry out an independent, investigation, but they don't even allow the police to do what they can do. Because I've said it, in many different fora, that in my opinion, it is very important. It's very important for these investigations to be independent, so that it uncovers if somebody is hiding, if a terrorist is hiding behind the name of someone who is connected to, a politician, for example, right. A politician of the ruling party or whatever. We know that, corruption can be an issue in a country like, Bangladesh or anywhere else, really. Mm-hmm. So it is possible for, someone who is connected to the authorities,
who has friends in high places,
to shield these people, and unless you really allow the police to carry out an investigation. But what does the police in Bangladesh do? Actually, I should correct myself. What is the police in Bangladesh allowed to do?
Yeah.
Because the police, in this country, they are independent. They carry out the independent investigation. In Bangladesh, they are not independent. They must be, they want to be independent. When I talk to, senior police officers, they tell me how really it is important. It is their wish to be independent and carry out, a professional job.
And most of them have been trained abroad, you see, so
yes.
I'm sure that they know what is independent.
Highly qualified. But they are not allowed to carry out their work properly because of the pressure from the authorities. And, and then we've got also, the extrajudicial killings. So there is an air of secrecy around everything that is actually happening with regard to all of these investigations. So you and I, unless, of course, we go into the details and we find out that really they are doing wrong. But, the general public will not know. They think that, all these people who are being killed at 4 o'clock in the morning in front of a wall, they think they are terrorists. They think they are criminals. But really, it is not true. Even if they are terrorists, even if they are criminals,
take them to court.
You have to, abide by the rule of law. And in these particular cases, no rule of law is applied,
right.
Unfortunately.
Well, what you're saying is probably right here in the report. Arbitrary attitude risks further undermining the trust of the population towards the government's ability to defend their rights, the people's rights to life and other rights, human rights. And you said they just bear out. What can people living abroad, what can the human rights organizations can do apart from talking? And I know that there are tools available, and we have a break coming up, but after the break we want to talk about, because recently you met in the House of Lords, I suppose, to talk about the issue, and some of the people in high positions from Bangladesh were there. And I understand that the meeting went down very well, really went down very well.
Well, you are very kind to that meeting. It didn't go down very well.
But the unfortunate thing is that Bangladesh was created because of the human rights violation situations. It's a product of that.
Yeah.
Okay. And there's a lot of credit side. We have achieved a lot, but sometimes we get lost, we leave the highway and we get diverted into some sort of unknown tracks, and this is causing all the problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
When we come back after this break, we'll definitely talk more about this situation in Near East, in South Asia, in Bangladesh, and again, we'll go back to the refugee situation. How can we think of improvement?
Absolutely.
Thank you for being with us. We'll go for a short commercial break, and when we come back, we'll still be there. See you soon.